Friends, welcome back to the second and final video on BEI. Here you will see the rest of the demonstration. I will then give you some concluding tips.
Okay, very good. So how well, but you said that there are multidisciplinary resources required. So how you were able to get those resources?
See, basically, the organization during the time of hiring, the requirement of the company itself works in such a way, since it's a service, this that we do have people from different disciplines already as a part of the. But usually, the projects, how they carried out is that when a project comes in, we say, okay, it is to be given to this department or this department. But this was the first of its kind where practically everyone was involved.
Yeah.
Few people from every discipline.
Okay. Okay, can you give me an example where one of your team members, who was earlier was a good performer, and suddenly appeared very poorly performing and demotivated and losing steam? So how was your approach to that?
Right. So, first and foremost, I think the usual this is that everyone goes through those phases in life. That is the first thing we have to understand. No one can be performing to their best throughout. So, when we identified that a key performer who normally is a pretty much a star performer in this thing was not really, there were lapses in the performance. So, first thing is that had a one-on-one talk with that person, trying to understand what's happening in their life. Like, trying to identify, are there any personal issues? Is there any this thing? So then we try to address the root of it rather than, calling and just reprimanding and saying that this work is not, met those standards, because we had to identify the cause for the lapse, whether it was something personal or whether there was some grievance against the firm itself, as in non-recognition issues or incentives or what it was. And I think that approach worked well, because once we identified that that person felt he was not being given the due credit for what he or she was doing, and we said that no, it has been taken into account, and we had a few counseling sessions, then things got back into track.
Okay. So basically, so that helped him. Now he is doing good.
Yes,
and
yes.
Okay.
I think that went along.
And what was the long-term learning from that? Because sometimes it happens that due credit will not be given again and again. It should be avoided.
Right. So one of the things that that came out of this entire this, we realized that certain times talking to the team periodically and having a third party, one of the programs that we devised was that normally your mentor or the person you go to is from the same team. But sometimes, because of the team dynamics or politics or whatever, your group leader may not be the best. So we also did that in rotation, as in we made other group leaders talk to people from a particular group, wherein they could be a third party observer or an unbiased observer, or these people also felt free that it would not go back into this. Such kind of programs we started having where certain grievances could be addressed in a different way.
Okay. So, can you tell me one more thing, that specific actions you have initiated in your workplace to enhance the abilities and skills of your team members? Any specific actions you have initiated?
Yes. We have a certain kind of skill appraisal program that happens once in 6 months.
Okay.
Because technology is moving fast. So every job requires the skill sets that you have may not be adequate for it to last through. You need to know what is happening new, what are the new programs, the new software coming in. I mean, you may not be in the IT industry, but you are supposed to, you need to be aware of what are the tools available for you to increase your output. So all those, we have actually a team that kind of constantly looks into what are the new this available in the market, and we have training programs for orientation. Then we also have programs wherein if a person feels that he has acquired enough skill in one and is lacking in another and would like to be mentored in another field, then we also have those kind of options and those kind of cross training programs, so as to increase the breadth.
Okay. Okay. One. I think last question. Give me an example where you initiated and implemented as process improvement initiatives in your workplace. Process improvement.
Okay. Okay, so if you were to talk of, since the work I handle is always to do with just human efficiency,
Okay.
intellectual efficiency,
Yeah, yeah.
so to say, and not process in terms of actual production or so one of the process, this thing is that how to retain your own throughput or the amount of this thing that you give.
Okay.
Say probably generated in terms of reports or the number of records that you can read for a particular. So we did develop certain tools wherein suppose the benchmark is that you can read 50 records a day, how to increase that to 70. Because the more the number of records that you process and you analyze and this, the faster you can finish that project, but at the same time the quality is not expected to fall. So we had those kind of certain tools and certain exercises like because it's a sedentary job, waking up every 2 hours and some kind of fun activity that you rotate and this so that you don't get lethargic. Shifting your workplace every 3 hours.
Okay.
All these kind of small things also made a difference in.
Okay. But that could lead to the quantity also.
What are your thoughts? How did it go? I have assessed the SSC here, Sangeeta, on strategic orientation and critical thinking, called SOCT. Result orientation, I call it RO. People development, I call it PD. As an overall evaluation, A, she gave good example of tracking information in the marketplace, benchmarked own technology with that of competition. However, the end result or the final benefits of the company were not very clear. As she said, negotiations are still on. Now here for you as students, the learning is always think of examples where you can narrate the final results and benefits to the organization. Second aspect, she answered questions about planning a project keeping in mind targets, resources and bottlenecks in a detailed manner. It was good. The next point, on the question about the low performing demotivated team member, she demonstrated following positive behaviors and traits. She demonstrated empathy. She demonstrated ability to go to root cause of problems and address it. She demonstrated ability to learn from the experience, leading to improvement in employee engagement process. And she talked about starting a practice in the organization of getting a mentor from another area who would be more objective. Now here, in this aspect of dealing with people in an effective manner, she could have done following things in a better way. Many other things that lead to better employee productivity, engagement and morale did not come up. For example, a structured reward and recognition process in future, continuous learning and skill enhancement for all team members, not only to the disgruntled ones, job enrichment through delegation, fostering an atmosphere of openness where people could share their thoughts and concerns, both professional and personal. The next aspect, response to the process improvement question, was pretty good. So just for our discussion, demonstrates concerns for people and takes actions to improve work environment, shows empathy, we can see the rating, or provides training to team members and sees value in exposing them to other areas of the organization, you can see the rating on people development. Demonstrates process orientation and desires to keep improving processes, result orientation, see the rating. As an overall comment on this SSC's performance, she did pretty well in narrating high value incidents. However, she could have been more concise and could have given more specific details. Important. How to prepare for BEI? Well, my advice is try to get from your HR the competencies that are assessed in BEI and the underlying behavioral traits. If you can't get that, make a learned guess of 4 to 5 competencies that will be assessed in BEI. Then identify 1 or 2 critical behaviors in each competency, like the way I have shown in the 3 competencies that I have selected. Think back when you demonstrated these behaviors in past 2 years. Also, try to think of examples where you were the main person and you took the decisions as compared to we and the team and the organization did it. It is you who is being assessed, not the organization. Assessors mostly follow STAR technique. When they ask you a question, what they are really looking for is S stands for situation. What was the situation? What is the context? T is task. What were you expected to do? What the organization expected from you? A is action. What actions did you take? Again, what actions did you specifically took and not the organization in general? And R is the result. What is the end result in terms of solutions of problem or profitability or whatever? You should be clear about what results were achieved. Put your actual experience in above format and memorize major details. You will be much more effective in a BEI. Good news? Most good real-life success stories lead to demonstration of more than one competency. Assessors are trained to take note. For example, a good example of your having solved or you're having negotiated a serious challenge or problem will also include your working with people, will also include where you motivated team members, will also include when you engage with customers, external clients, and solve their problems. So as I said, a good example will cover multiple competencies. The bad news is, it is generally difficult to bluff your way through in BEI because a good assessor will call your bluff through follow-up questions. More pointers: learn to be specific and concise while describing the event. Take time, maybe 20, 30, 40 seconds to sort out your thoughts that will help you speak in a clear manner. Do not ramble. Watch our videos on role plays, case analysis, interview exercise, group discussion, group simulation, and more. For any queries and clarifications, please write to the email address given here. We also assist you to create better insights and master the technique through personalized one-on-one coaching. Happy learning!